Hey guys, sorry for the late notice today, but I wanted to make sure you had this. So the first question on the practice test is filling out that table for the circle. Let me see if I have that up too. Yeah, so the practice test, I have x squared plus y squared equals 25. The real test is going to be a different one, and it wants a table and a graph, okay? So we know that the equation for a circle is x squared plus y squared equals r squared, the radius squared. So we know in this particular case, I'll go back to this here, we know in this particular case that our radius must be 5 because 5 squared is going to give us 25. Okay, so that's really the radius squared, so we know that the radius must be 5. And it plays out when I graph it on Desmos. So if you look at, I knew that would happen. You guys, this happens every time. I don't know. I guess I'll just erase it before I open this. You can tell our origin is 0, and we'll talk about different origins later, but the x squared and the y squared make our origin 0 right there. Okay. The origin 0, but I also meant the center of the circle is 0, 0, 0. And the radius, you can tell, is exactly 5. Okay, radius here, radius here. I mean, there's an infinite amount of radii on this circle. Whoops. But, oh no, what's happening? I'm pressing a button. There's an infinite amount of radii, but it's really easy to see them on those axes because that's where it goes up 5, because this is 0, 5, the other one is 5, 0. So right away, you guys, we have 4 points that we can put in that table, right? So let's see. 4 points that we can put in that table are, when x was 0, y was 5. And when x was 0, y was negative 5. Now notice this is not a function. It's not a function because 2, 3, 4, 5. It does not pass the vertical line test. That was only 4 or 5. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm just going to do this again right here so I can show you it does not pass the vertical line test. So if I was going to make this, pardon the terrible circle here, but I was going to make this circle here. I enter in 0, I get both positive 5 and negative 5. Does not pass the vertical line test. It hits twice, but it doesn't matter if it's a function. That's the equation of the circle, right? So that's 4 points. So 2 more points was when x was positive 5, y was 0. And when x was negative 5, y was also 0. So I filled in most of the table already. The rest of the table comes from the fact that I know every radius, okay, every radius is going to be 5. And if you think about our unit circle, the radius was 1, right? I'm just going to give you a hint to review the radius of a unit circle, or to just review the unit circle in general for this question on the test, okay? Let me change this color here. It's driving me nuts. Okay. So this radius here is 5. So let's just kind of let's actually pick a number. Let's pick 4. Okay, if x is 4, what is my y value? So if we go to our table, and we're going to have 2, right? If we go to our table, I want x to be 4, and I'm going to get 2 different y values. How do I find those y values? Well, check it out. Check it out in just a minute. And I think I have trouble closing this every time. Okay, check it out. Here, I'm going to put if x is equal to 4, okay, that gives me this green line here. So right there I see those 2 points. Now, I could just put my cursor over these points and it's going to say 4, 3, but let's actually figure that out because you're not going to have Desmos here. So what does that look like? That means that we have this circle and we have our radius right here, this triangle, I'm sorry. And we have the radius, so we know one side is 4. Whoops, not that side though. We know that our x value was 4, right? So from here to here, this side is 4. And I know that my hypotenuse is 5. because the hypotenuse is the radius. So all I have to do to find this side is the Pythagorean theorem, right? So I have 4 squared plus x squared. That's what I don't know. Well, I don't want to call it x, you guys, because I don't want you to get confused. Our x is actually 4, right? So we'll do the a squared plus b squared, like we do in the Pythagorean theorem. So 4 squared plus b squared equals 5 squared, or I guess I could just call it y. Well, whatever. You guys know what I'm talking about. So that is 16 plus b squared equals 5 squared. And that is b squared equals, this is actually 25, right? 25 minus 16 is 9, which means b is equal to positive and negative 9. But because we are finding a distance, we are only using our positive value. B, did you guys see what I just did? I would like pretend I didn't do that and go back, but I'm in a hurry kind of, and I don't want to stop this video. Besides, you guys already know I make mistakes when I do this. Okay, so B is both positive and negative 3, right? 3 right there. But we only use the positive when we're talking about distance. You cannot have a negative distance. And since we're talking about this y distance from here to here, it's got to be the positive 3. But I want you to remember, whenever you take the square root, you're going to have both a positive and a negative answer. It's just that in this case, it's going to be the positive answer. So if this is 3 from here to here, I know this is going to be the same, except it's going to be negative 3. So I have 2 more points for my table. I have positive 3 and I have negative 3. Now, I know what you're going to say. Does that mean if I make x 3, I'm going to have 4, and negative 4 is my output? Well, let's take a look. If I make x 3, if x is 3, will I have both? Let's see here. Will I have those be the same numbers? And I think that that's going to be the case, right? And so I have it here. I can just put, yep, this is 3 comma 4, and this is 3 comma negative 4. All right. It's going to be a little bit trickier with the unit circle, but if you know your sines and cosines really well, it'll be easy to fill out because the sine is just the y value and the cosine is just the x value. Like here, my sine would be negative 4 and my cosine would be positive 3. Okay. Negative 4, positive 4. So I did that. I kind of drew that sketch. It's pretty terrible, but you get the idea. Describe the graph. Well, my graph is a circle with a center at 0, 0 and a radius of 5. Okay, there's not much else to do with that. Okay, let's go down to the next question. Convert 175 degrees into radians. So this is all you need to know. Pi is 180 degrees. And we're going to set up that proportion and we're going to say, okay, I want to know what radians are. So it's going to be my numerator. It's going to be my x. And I have 175 degrees. Okay, so I'm going to cross multiply or multiply both sides by both denominators, but cross multiply you can do in your head. So I'm going to have 175x is equal to 100, and you guys are not watching me. 180x was my dog. 180x, because those are the two that are catty corner from each other. 180x is equal to 175 pi. I'm trying to solve for x, so I need to divide both sides by 180. So it's going to be 175 pi. These are going to be multiple choice questions on the test. And our answers are going to have pi in them. So whatever you get, you are going to have to just simplify. So I know 5 can go into both of those numbers. Check me, because I'm going to do this mentally. 5 can go into 175. Let's see. 3 times into 17, and then 5 times into 25. So now I have 35 pi over 5 can go here, 3 over 36, 35 pi over 36. And that is a perfect answer. I don't think I can reduce this anymore. Okay, next we're going to go the opposite direction. So I have pi over 10 radians, so I know pi over 180 is true. And now I know I have pi over 10, and that whole fraction is going to be a numerator. I know it's weird to put a fraction on the numerator, but that's how we do. And our denominator, this is our x. This is what we want to know. All right, so what does this look like? This looks like x times pi here, all right? So x times pi, whenever you're doing it this way, our pi's should end up canceling out, is equal to 180 pi over 10. Okay, all I did, I'll take this over here. I had pi over 10 times 180 over 1 equals 180 pi over 10. 180 pi over 10. And here the zeros just cancel out, and then it's just 18 pi. So I have x pi equals 18 pi. If I divide both sides by pi, pi cancels out on both sides, and I get x is equal to 18 degrees. Let's see if I have enough time to do this. Use the rule of triangle. No, I'm going to start the next equation. I'm going to start the next video in 4. I'm going to stop this one. You guys marinate on this information, and I will start the next one.